Hi folks, Jonathan here from Holistic Wellbeing again. Hope you're all keeping well out there. Hope everything's going okay. Hoping that I think it's 28 days in 28. No, I'm thinking of 28 days later. It's not 28 days later, honestly. 20 days, I think, in lockdown now. We are doing all right, I think. Yeah, whatever. New experiences, lots of new things going on. Every single day brings something new. We can't kind of complain about how things are progressing at the moment, though. So that's good news. Hope it's the same for you. Now then. Just recently, I have been getting lots and lots of feelings coming through, the old song, and mainly from the spiritual dimensions. And I have been very much impressed from getting up this morning to being here this afternoon, recording this information for you, to speak. And for all those who know about how mediums work sometimes, when we're asked to do church services, we're asked to do a little bit of a thing called philosophy. And that means kind of standing up with no script, no kind of pre-written notes, no nothing, and just give what we get. Well, that's what I'm about to do. I have absolutely no idea how it's going to go. I've got to be honest with you, and I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. I've got an inkling, but I'll just kind of wait and see, and I'll tune in and we'll see what needs to happen. But I always have to have a little bit of an introduction, and the introduction is just about the information that is banding about at the moment all over the place. Facebook's a real culprit, and it's quite saddening to see that people are posting so much negative stuff on Facebook. It's all about the news and all about this, that and the other, and to be quite frank, as a sensitive person, it kind of affects me big time. And anybody else out there who's as sensitive as I am will know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not good, folks. Stop posting the rubbish. It brings the vibration of us down, of humanity down. If you're going to post something, please make it positive. Lovely friend today, fantastic post. She's got together with her community and she's said, everybody's got together. We're swapping vegetables, we're swapping eggs. Yeah, we're kind of looking after each other. We're looking after the community. We so much need to go back to community living. This is a major opportunity that we've been given. This is not something to look at as doom and gloom, as something that is to be feared, to wonder how life's going to go back to normal. We really have been given a gift, and some of you will find that difficult to accept, the fact that we have been given a gift. We have been given the gift of time to be able to think for ourselves. We have been given a gift of love from the higher dimensions. We have been given this wonderful experience to sit and meditate and think. Now, there may be people out there that aren't thinking straight at the moment. It's a difficult time for everybody. Difficult in many ways. Difficult because people are still living in fear. From my perspective, I have kind of calmed down a little bit now from a few weeks ago. I was in a state of shock, wondering how I was going to live, how we as a family were going to live, how our business was going to continue after all this wonderful work that we've been part of over the last 5 years that suddenly came to a halt when we went into lockdown on the 23rd of March. I don't know about you, but that time's flown for me, absolutely flown. Thankfully, both Anne and myself have kept ourselves busy doing things. And it's very important that we can try to do things, we can try to help in any way we can. rather than posting things and saying things that we may regret later, we need to think about how we actually project ourselves into the world right at this moment in time. What are we actually giving to the benefit of humanity? What are we actually giving? It is not about taking, it is about giving. I want to talk about the new world. We have been given an opportunity to create a new world and a new life. And there are so many people out there living in fear. And much of that fear is based on two things: financial loss and the loss of life. Now, the loss of life is part of life. However we look at it, folks, we're only going one way. It is how we deal with that that is important, whether that comes to us suddenly or takes many months or many years. We are all moving in the same direction because life brings death to us. It is something that we are here to learn to deal with. The death of the physical body. The spirit lives on. I have seen so much evidence of that happening over the last 25 years. It's irrefutable. For all those people who disbelieve, you've got to open your mind and just seek and keep seeking, because you will find it. There's a great saying, a great old saying, it possibly was biblical, and it's seek and ye shall find, ask and it will be given. Those words are amazing right at this moment in time. Because if we don't ask questions, we don't seek out things, then we remain locked in a prison of fear. And there are so many beings and guides, angels, higher forces, higher energies, the earth itself, that is trying to bring this message to us now, that we are here to give. The time has come to stop taking and to start giving. And the new world is a place where we give. Where we give, we take, but we also give. It's a two-way street. Community living is where we need to be looking at. We cannot any longer be governed or ruled by a handful of people. This is not the way forward for us. It never was. We allowed ourselves to do so because we were ruled by fear. Now is the time to learn to trust in ourselves, to open our hearts, and to learn to live from what comes from the heart. So it's time, folks, to think about changing how we live, changing how we do things. Both Anne and I have had the conversation that, do we really want to go back to the life that we had over 3 weeks ago? How many of us can truly say yes to that question? Because I look back and there are certainly things that I would want to change. Many things about myself and how we do things. We've been granted a time to be with our families. How many people work out there in office blocks all over the country, all over the world, asking for more time to be with their families? Well, let's be grateful that we've got that time. That time is so important, because my guide Phoenix told me many years ago that, above all, family is the most important thing. I just want to touch on something to do with conspiracy theories, because many of you who know me and know the kind of stuff that I post on Facebook, is borderline or full-on conspiracy theory. I feel as though we need to change our perception of this. And the term was created by government, conspiracy theory. It was used as a tool against the people who asked questions, who questioned the authority and questioned the official line. So I feel as though we need to change that conspiracy theory phrase to truth seeker. Let's all be truth seekers. Let's find out what the truth is. Because I'm sure after all this has kind of blown over, and I don't feel as though that's going to happen for a very long time, that we need to ask. It is our basic right that we ask questions and that we can be given answers with the truth. The media, politics, and the corporate and financial world will not give us the truth. And this is where I want to go, folks, is that the conspiracy theorists are saying we're going to end up with a cashless society, we're going to end up being mandatory vaccinated. These things might come to pass, but only if we, as humanity, allow them to happen. Now, I want to take that phrase, cashless society, and I'm being honest and thinking, I don't think I could live with a cashless society, but I want to take this a stage further. I want to go as far as to say, let's have a moneyless society, one in which we do not need money. Now, some people might be spitting out the coffee or laughing heartily and thinking, how the heck could we live in a world without money? Well, to be honest with you folks, I don't have the answers to that. But I believe that collectively in humanity, we do. We do have the answers to that. We can bring that to the table. We can talk about it with each other. How on earth can we live without money? We're in this dichotomy. That's another word I love to keep using. Dichotomy. It's about the forces of the light and the dark, the good and the evil, and call it what you want. Whatever you want. But it's the fact that everything at this moment in time is split down the middle. There is one side of humanity and the other side of humanity, both with wildly different ideas. But at the base of everything that we do as humanity is money. We are completely consumed and controlled by money. If we erased that from the system, then we would find a new way to live, a new way of thinking, a new way of perceiving life, and releasing ourselves from so many chains of bondage that we have created for ourselves over eons. Imagine a world where we are not beholden to the governments in taxation. Imagine a world where we are not beholden to the banks through debt. Imagine a world where we no longer have any fear of how we are going to earn money to live and to put food on the table and a roof over our heads. I want to explain something, folks, that you may not be aware of. It's the system of money, and I came to learn this many years ago now, and I was shocked actually when I began to learn this. It was about the money system and how it's been manipulated and created. The base of our monetary system is all done on a thing called fractional reserve banking. Please look it up. It's out there. Do your research. That's what I'm asking people to do now. Don't rely on me. Don't keep pumping me with messages and videos on Facebook Messenger. Get it on your own timelines, folks. Get it out there. Get the words out there. Stop hiding in the shadows and move out into the light. You are the light, and your light needs to shine. Fractional reserve banking is a system which creates nothing but debt. If I was to give you your first ever piece of money, I'll give you £10. Have a tenner, everyone. There you go. 10 quid. Oh, thank you, Jonathan. Money. We can now start to buy things. You're such a great guy. But there's a condition with that money, folks, and that is that actually you owe me a little bit more than that. It's called interest. Yeah? And I want, I don't know, you pay me back a couple of quid on top of that. Yeah? So I'll loan you that money and you pay me a little bit more besides. It'll be £12. Now just think, folks, if that was your first ever piece of money and I gave you £10 but I wanted £12 back, where are you going to find that 2 quid, folks? Where's it going to come from? Where's it going to come from? In other words, you could never actually repay the debt, because whatever you do, the more money that you borrow, the more that you have to pay back. You're never going to repay the debt. I am not a mathematical, financial or economic genius. I am completely the opposite. I got CSE grade 2, folks, in maths, and I had to have 2 attempts at that as well. But I know enough to know that that is a system which is ludicrous. But folks, that's the system that we work on through the Bank of England and through the Federal Reserve. Look it up, please. It's not wish-wash, it's not flim-flam, it's not conspiracy theory stuff. It's a reality. And this is why we are all in debt. We have debt to pay because of the system of being given money and then being expected to pay interest on that money. Now then, here's something else I'd like you to think about. So where does that money come from exactly? Well, there has to be a certain percentage in gold reserves to back that money up, but not all the money. So part of that is kind of covered by gold reserves. As I say, I have no idea how the system fully works, but I know the basics of it. But you go to a bank today and you want a mortgage. And the lovely advisor gives you a mortgage for £250,000. And of course, with that mortgage comes interest. You pay X amount of interest over the term. We're back to fractional reserve banking. So, the bank doesn't actually hold that money. And this is why the banks don't want runs on the bank anymore, like they did back in the 1920s in the Great Wall Street crash, because the bank doesn't actually have that money anymore. Where does the money exist? The money, folks, exists right here on a computer. It is figures on a computer screen. It is bits, and I mean bits in the computer sense, of data. Bits of data. Nothing else. Electronic bits of data. That bank can create that loan of £250,000 right out of thin air, just like that. It does not have the physical cash to pay you. So I got to thinking about fractional reserve banking and this debt system, and thinking, well, really, if my debt doesn't exist, which it actually doesn't because it's virtual, my debt disappears when that computer's turned off. It only exists in computer memory when it has some electricity running through the processor and the memory and the hard drive. So when that computer gets turned off, my debt no longer exists. So we could eradicate debt literally by pressing a delete key on the keyboard. Now, I believe at this moment in time, and please, you might want to correct me, but the NHS has just had its debt written off completely. 13 point some billion, I believe. I might be wrong. Please correct me. I kind of hold my hands up if I've got that completely wrong. So, folks, I'm asking the question now, if we can erase 13.8 billion debt, just like that, because all it would require is a push on the delete key, then why are we not having our mortgage payments deleted? The debt that we owe to the banks. The banks are creating illegal debt. And we are living in a society that is beholden to that debt. It creates fear, it creates people to become ill, and it creates people to take their own lives because they get into so much of a state they can no longer handle the debt. We no longer need to live in this kind of society. We should free ourselves from it right now. If we freed ourselves from this debt trap, this money trap, and we found a new way to live, we would all be free, truly free. We could learn to share things. That one person has a wonderful talent for something, another has a wonderful talent for something else. And we're seeing that creativity coming out now through lockdown, of people who are taking up crafts, doing things, baking, whatever it is, making wonderful food. And thankfully, we have that food. So instead of currency being the currency, should food, clothing, shelter become the currency now? The real currency, the things that we need, the things that every single one of us now realizes through this time that we need the basic things in life. And the basics are what matter. Water, food, shelter, clothing, and the love of the family and the love of our friends. We no longer need a money-based society. It controls us from the cradle to the grave. It makes the very small percentage of people in this world extremely rich. And the rest of us have to suffer because of that. We no longer need to suffer. We no longer need to accept this system. We are being given an opportunity to reset, to reboot the computer. That computer that contains all our debts, we can reboot it right now. It is our choice. Are we brave enough to go forward into a new life? I hope so. Or are we going to slip back into that normal existence of Saturday night telly and whatever else it is that we go along with it? There are things we can't give up, but there are things that we can. And this is the message I feel very strongly that I have to give people right now, is that we can create a new life for ourselves, one of sharing, one of looking after our neighbours, our friends, our families, creating communities. And if we have to have currency, Let's go for community banking. Not these massive, huge global conglomerates that just want to control everything. We cannot live like this any longer. We have to become free. We have to free ourselves and free us so that we can live a more spiritual life. We cannot accept money in that spiritual life. The two do not go together. So let's put some hope into the world. Let's start talking about this. Let's come up with some ideas and some answers. Let's not just slip back into that old world, that old way of living that doesn't work. If we cannot see by now that that old way is the wrong way, then I send my love out to you and hope that your eyes will be opened. We must find it, folks. It's important for every one of us. There is more to this life than money. Keep talking. Keep finding it. Let's find a way. Let's go for it. And if we have to we need to send signals out to those who wish to protect that system. Sending your thought intention is the most important thing. If we create this wave of thought that we can create a new moneyless society, then we will create a new world. You will see that to begin to come into existence. But if we want to cling on to that life, that old life, that's my money, I need that money off you, etc., etc., then we must think again and think that to be truly free, that we can find a different way. As an example, education. We must find a way to educate ourselves based around our talents, our strengths. Every single human being on this planet has a gift or many gifts to give to this world. But our education system locks us down. It locks us down. Channels us into subjects, into telling us that if you don't pass this exam or have this certificate or this diploma or this degree, you cannot do something. You are not allowed to do something. That goes against our natural state of being, to be told that we cannot do something. Why not have an education system that says to us, you know what, you're really good at drawing. You know what, you're really good at talking to people. You know what, you're really good at sums. You know what, you're really good at art or sport or whatever it might be. Why aren't we working to bring that out in each and every one of us? Why aren't we working to educate ourselves around our strengths and not our failures? We've got to find new ways, folks. And as for all those office blocks that are empty at the moment, why do we need them anymore? Do we need them? We have the technology now to work from home. We don't need to chase about the country in our cars, having the second car or third car or whatever, to go to work. If we're office-based, we can work from home. How many cars would that actually reduce on the roads? All this madness, the road accidents, the insurance claims, the speeding fines, everything is all based around this madness. We found a way to work from home, to work in our own time, and also to be with our families, to be back in the bosom of the family. So all these huge office blocks, all these wonderful places that we've built for ourselves, we don't really need them anymore. We've got to find different ways. We've got to find ways to work in a different setting. Look at how we can work and operate differently. And imagine the consumerism, that madness. It can all be reduced. All be reduced. Working differently, educating differently, thinking differently. And if we combine that with community living and a moneyless society, I'm pretty sure, folks, we've cracked it at that point, that we've achieved what we need to achieve as human beings, and our true humanity will start to shine. The light within us will all start to shine. So forget Facebook, forget Instagram, forget whatever you want, putting on these negative posts about this, that, and the other. That person's gone out for 2 walks instead of 1 or whatever. Be human. Think before you act. There is so much going on in people's lives right now that please do not condemn someone for something you have absolutely no idea about. We are all human. We are all walking our pathways. We're all here for a reason. And we are all here right now, in this time, choosing to put a positive contribution into society. So, folks, here endeth the lesson for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. I feel that's a bit of a spiritual telling off, if anything. So I'm sorry, that's what came out. It just came out, but I hope it makes sense. It certainly makes sense to me. Let's talk. Please get talking with each other. Please think. Please just don't become blinkered by the media, by what the government tells us, by what other people are telling us. Think, open up your hearts, stop making this the main organ of the way you live your life. The heart is where we receive the love. And when we think from the heart and feel from the heart, we begin to put that love into society. Thanks once again, folks. It's been a pleasure. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you very soon. All right then. Take care. Bye.